You are listening to STR, the Sandy Times Radio, culture, music, and beyond.
Hey everyone, this is STR and the Creative Hour, and today we're pleased to have Tarek Al-Ghoussein at our studio. Hello, Tarek.
Hey, Sophie.
Nice to meet you personally.
It's a pleasure to be here and discuss my practice and get to know you more.
Oh, I'd love to, really. I can't wait for the following dialogue, to be honest. I hope that everybody who are listening to us will be enjoying it as much as I did prepping for it. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
To start with, let's dive into your creative journey, to your biography. Can you tell me, why did you choose sculpture as your primary medium?
It all started with a childhood memory when I was 12 years old. And it was about a journey that I did through my town. And I was like walking there, touching the stone, feeling the different textures, exploring the colors. It felt like there's a beautiful interaction happening here. The temperature changes. And every time I move, there is like so much like happiness. I can feel like my body is reacting to the stone. And then I journeyed through life and studied architecture and urban planning to end up coming back to my 12 years old self that knew exactly, so truly what he wanted.
Oh, that is so interesting. And you thought of it when you were 12 years old, so you were a boy.
I think at this age, they were like kind of a pure happiness that comes from within. And with the challenges that we're having every life, I was like started questioning, where's my happiness come from? Sometimes we think it's from my job, from my work, from my partner, from the things that I buy, from the trips that I do, but can it be from within me? And this is where I started to reflect on this point, to remember when this happiness really came within me with so pure, so intense. And this took me to a memory that I have totally and completely forgotten when I was old.
Oh.
And this is when I decided to jump and become an artist and start the practice through exploring the first thing that helped me feel so intensely so many things.
Oh, that's lovely. But why sculpture, though? And how did you learn about the practice? How everything happened? Because it seems like picking up the paper and pens is easier, but then with sculpture, it's so much more. It takes a lot of consideration and time. How did you learn about it?
Absolutely. It all started with observation, like curiously looking at how the master craftsmen are working with their hands, trying to understand like all these untold stories that have been, that you can see through the hands, through the skin, through the small cracks. It's just like stories that's been inherited from grandfather to father to son. And I felt like these stories needs to be told. And this is how I've been taught how to deal with metal, with stone, with understanding the structure of these materials, going to the grain level and feel it with all its complexity, and always re-questioning, how can I materialize this? How can I bring it into life through my practice?
Do you remember your first piece by any chance?
I believe like most of the first pieces that I've done, I have at my studio a series of artwork where I was experimenting with stone, with metal, carving, pouring, melting. And when you look at them, they so like each one is so different. And you can see how I've been always trying to find my voice. I've been always trying, hey, can we talk? Hey, stone, metal, do we have a connection? To have something to say? Is there a dialogue that might happen here? So for like a year or even for 2 years, just like testing, touching, pouring, making mistakes and throwing, and so many failures, so many devastations, so many. I was like, this is what am I doing? Like, is this happiness that I've been looking for? Is the authentic, genuine happiness that I've been looking for? And I don't, and it felt like really demotivational until step by step, the voice started getting clearer. The visual identity of my work started to get more aligned with myself, and I can start these dialogues with so many materials that are really close to my heart.
Insane. It feels like you're trying to create something that's like the emotion you're trying to convey it through the stone to the public, to the universe. It's very, very interesting. Like so intangible, making it tangible.
I believe, like, yes, we hear there's so many things to learn from nature, but if we go to more deeper level in a way where if we really get in contact with these tones or with these metals, what they can teach us, not just, okay, let's go meditate and then just feel more relaxed, but really these stones, these transformations, right? Like the marble, it's just particles and soils and fossils, and that has been like sediments that has been over thousands and thousands of years slowly transforming into this stone that's in front of us. So like we have this duty to understand what it's trying to say, what is this journey, what was the process, and try to go into these stories, understand nature's process that's thousands and thousands of years, and try to really maybe make it shorter for us as a human to really try to understand it in a really shorter time, smaller time, through the process.
And also, I've seen multiple times, and also I think on your website, you describe your practice as an exploration of, quoting, the balance after loss concept. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Like, can you explain what that means?
I have always been fascinated by the empty. I was always been fascinated by the void and how much it can hold meaning by itself. It's like kind of a void that is full. Sometimes this void would come after a loss. Sometimes it comes just because it needs to exist. And I would like to kind of like explore what like I'm really curious about is what comes after. Like this space, it feels like, is it a space for regeneration? If yes, what is the process and what is the balance that we can to find through the process? Because at the end of the day, what I do care about is not having a finished artwork and just touching it. What I care about is how did I transform as a person through the process of sculpting it. And this introspective process always, like, I aim for it to lead me to connect with myself, the more authentic self.
Interesting. And also, I think in your notes of the seen and the unseen that our listeners will be hearing a little bit later today, you've discussed also finding comfort in writing, in the process of writing. So I guess it also plays one of the main roles. Can you maybe tell me more about which role does writing play in your creative process?
When I start working on a concept or on an idea, most of the times I really fall into the trap of overthinking it. Probably every single time it paralyzes the whole process. I feel like it's just either it's too much, either it's too little, either I'm pushing it, either it's going places that doesn't need to go. So sitting down and writing, it calms the voice, it calms the storm, and it kind of, my thoughts become more balanced, and it creates an infrastructure for the work. Even at a personal level, journaling has always been a grounding practice for me. It really helps me through daily challenges.
I think it's also very insightful for everyone in the modern age, because we all, I think, tend to face the overthinking and like this
Absolutely.
anxiety all the time, especially in
Absolutely.
like hustling and bustling cities. So it's indeed it's really important.
Posing.
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember at what age you started journaling?
It came at a really late age. Like this process started around 5 years ago, where I started. I can say I wouldn't want to call it like a discipline, but I would call it a refuge. Like to find my refuge in writing. It was on 5 years ago, only 5 years ago.
And since then, everything improved.
Like since then, I think I would say things calmed down. If it improved or not, this is like something to really reflect on. But definitely the journey has been more enjoyable. Definitely I have more time to think, more time to decide my future decisions, and better sleep for sure.
Lovely, lovely. This is lovely. So to all listening, maybe a journaling would be a great way to go. So then talking a little bit about the works that spoke to me deeply, I really want to discuss the Boundary series that you have in Abu Dhabi at Bassam Freha Foundation. Please excuse my pronunciation.
No, it's really
But
great.
the Boundaries series explore the barriers that people run into and not the seen one. So not the frames or something. Can you tell me, first of all, can you name some of the barriers?
Like from the moment we were born, Sophie, like there's so many boundaries that are already traced for us, like the geopolitical space, the country where we're born in, the passport that we hold, the name, the surname. Like it all affects how people interact with us. But there's also so many personal boundaries that we put to ourselves, that we create to ourselves, that usually they are based on fear, things that I don't know we can achieve. It's kind of this glass ceiling that sometimes gets thicker and thicker the more we get older. But I want to talk also about healthy boundaries. I want to talk about the boundaries that we need to create on a workspace and in a personal space. And this will kind of guide us in a more genuine journey towards self-exploration, where we can really like assert our identity and get closer to our authentic self.
Do you remember how you came up with this concept, or like maybe there was an event that struck you?
Like in the past 12 months, they've been troubling for everyone. And I'm like one of many that have been on the road and asking what are my options, what are the things that I can do, what are the things that I want to do. And then like it all started, and then like it's just kind of at some point it paralyzes me. Like I didn't know, I couldn't be able to take any decision. And I just like sat and started breaking down my fears, and then tried to see what are the reasonable ones and what are the unreasonable ones, and what are the things that I can control and what are the things that I have no control on. And this is where I start exploring this concept of boundaries. Like there's boundaries that I really need to erase. There are really some ceilings I need to break. But at the same time, like with such a troubling 12 months, I needed to put boundaries to respect my body, to respect myself, to respect my sanity, my mental health. And it was as important as the other decisions of deleting these boundaries. And this is where all started.
So this paradox of outlining, but at the same time challenging, kind of.
Absolutely.
Lovely.
What to do and what not to do, and give and take.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. And also, I love how you always, well, not always, but often explore the concepts that are like unseen, as I already mentioned, like in the works, The Void or The Future is Near. You highlight the concept of absence that you already noted, but how do you even approach sculpting something that is impossible to visualize, or that is impossible to touch,
Yeah.
and then you have this sculpture that you can, as you said, lean on it or like touch it, and the temperature changes. How?
I believe this idea that will keep me feel alive for the rest of my life, like how to, as a sculptor that would want to touch everything,
Yeah.
how can he explore this idea? And for me, like, it started with the dialogue between the seen and an unseen, the known and the unknown, these polarities, the visible and invisible. The generosity of voids and emptiness always fascinates me. It all started really simple examples, like the space that we find between letters, the space that we find between words. They bring meaning to the text. Like even the space between chapters, this emptiness, it brings reflective poses. The example is probably much more clear in music, where the silence is as important as the notes itself from a musical composition perspective. It really helps us understand and appreciate more the music. So one way to approach it in a physical space is like can be sculpted through this polarity, through this dialogue between the unseen and the seen, with what's surrounded, how it reacts with the space, how it reacts with people, how it reacts with perspectives.
And speaking of reacting and with people, and given the paradoxical nature of your pieces, what do you hope people feel or maybe take away from your exhibitions?
Sometimes in contemporary art and especially in institution and museums, we feel this, like there's a pressure on the visitor to see or feel a certain thing, or like trying to understand what the artist is trying to say, and they end up like spending more time in understanding it rather than really trying to connect with the piece itself. What I'm presenting at Bassam Freih Art Foundation is an altar for reflection, a journey and a walk along an installation that's 35 meter long. It's kind of a space and a time, a pause.
No, it's beautiful how you can actually reflect on something while even looking at sculpture or a minimalist painting that's like maybe doesn't even have a form, but makes you feel a certain way.
I believe museums and institutions and art galleries, or even like parks and outdoor areas that have public artwork in it, always give us this sense where it's in a space that there's no time. It's like kind of time is very flexible there, and it's only with the quietness that it comes with this poses that we have, this curiosity that we have gets to the surface and reminds us what we like, what we really like. Once we start doing what we like, we kind of enjoy it more, maybe discover things, maybe say, okay, where I am right now, this is not the space that I want to be, or maybe it is the space where I want to be. Keeping like this dialogue between ourselves and future selves I find them like so rewarding on a day-to-day basis.
Like a time capsule or like teleport or something.
Yeah, like you go there, and then like for me, I just when I go into a space and like when I go to the Louvre Abu Dhabi and I never looked at my watch. I never like. It doesn't matter what time it is. It doesn't matter how long we're staying. It doesn't matter if I stayed 10 minutes in front of this artwork or 30 minutes in front of this artwork, or maybe there's some artworks I just walk through it and I couldn't connect, and it's okay. And it's fine, because maybe today I wouldn't connect, maybe tomorrow I will connect, or maybe I will never connect with it. So there's always no pressure in that, and this is like, it should be a place where you can learn about art and also learn a lot about yourself.
Do you have any favorite public sculptures across the world, maybe?
Like public art is something that you feel like the work doesn't finish, because there's always this idea that the artist explores, like when an artwork is done. In a public artwork, there's the beauty where the space will continue the sculpting process, where nature will continue the sculpting process. Mainly the artwork that fascinates me the most were the ones that were super integrated with their context, where I can see like kids playing in the shadow of the artwork, or
that is so nice.
or people just having a small conversation around it, where an artwork became a place where like we can have memories around it. We can, if you want, come touch it. If you want, read about it. So when we can sit with, when the artwork becomes kind of a companion for whatever activity we're doing under the sun, in front of a certain place, if it can be in a really busy place, or it can be in a really quiet environment in nature, this out of kind of context, but it's still fully in context, this is what fascinates me.
As if the people become an extension of the artworks or something.
Yeah, it's not just the people themselves, but like any cities, there's layering of memories. There's layerings of stories that have been done and told. Like after 10 years, you would bring like a friend or a companion. I was like, I used to sit here around this artwork, or like, oh my God, one day I came and I cried here for like hours. Like there's always, this is what makes us alive. This is what the city, like a healthy city, should look like when there's memories been built, when the story's been told. And this gift is offered because it's accessible at any point, right? So it's not like there's opening hours. It's not like there's fee to come in. And this shows a generosity of art. This is like one way that shows the generosity of art and the accessibility of it. Some institutions can be super intimidating for people to go and visit them. And especially we can see the rise of really state-of-the-art buildings that they're gorgeous, they're amazing, they are an artwork in themselves, but also they can be super intimidating for people just to go and visit. Having like an artwork where there's no one is watching, no one is like, you don't have to pay a fee, you don't have to leave, you can just be, is kind of a gift of the city.
Oh, that's lovely. That's a lovely way to look at it, actually. And I'm reminding myself of a lot of memories, actually, because when you said that, I did this and this, and I'm like, I have already like 4 cities in mind where I have memorable things happening around, like statues and sculptures and everything. It's really,
and you would
really
want to come back to it and revisit it.
I actually do every time.
Kind of a place making, right? It's like recollecting these memories, regenerating new ones, or overwriting. Sometimes you want to overwrite a memory.
It's also true.
I like the space, but I had fight with my boyfriend or my girlfriend. I just want to rewrite it. So
exactly. No, it's very interesting, the controlling narrative. But also speaking about like the materials and everything, because your sculptures are made from various solids like limestone or marble or basalt, and each material seems to have its own story, as we also discussed. And in your notes, you've mentioned that limestone holds like an essence of your home. Can you tell me why limestone and how does it captivate it?
Limestone, there's so many like childhood memories that have been built around the color palette of limestone. And especially my first encounters, as I mentioned, it was with limestone. So it really, I have this connection. It feels like a foundational milestone for me. And subconsciously, our eyes and mind and bodies and nervous system will be attuned and relaxed around colors palette or certain materials. We have done like family gatherings around, or we had like kind of have some childhood memories or playing around, or etc. So this connection really holds, like this particular stone holds so many warmth in it. But there's also like the chalkiness of the stone, what the traces that it leaves on my hands when I touch it, the thin dust the grain texture, the warmth of the stone. It like it's so generous that it's kind of like you want to keep this conversation going and going and going while sculpting.
And what about the gold? Because you often use it as a highlight. And what does it symbolize? Also, I believe it's a very hard process, actually, to use gold. I think you mentioned the melting and the pouring. Feels like that's the place.
One way to use gold is definitely melting and pouring, but there's also other techniques. It's called gilding, which like really super, super thin, like a gold leaf that's super, super fragile. Like even you can't breathe when applying it. It feels like time stops when you apply it. And but for the use of it, like gold has been used for thousands of years to communicate with the unseen. It has been used as a language by many religions to connect spiritually. And I kind of wanted that my introspective process to take a sacred path. And so I try to use the eloquency of gold in my art.
Oh, lovely. This is so lovely. You are listening to STR, the Sandy Times Radio. Culture, music, and beyond. And I love how every solid has its own story in your artwork, and you can decode it in so many different ways. And I remember also in the notes of the scene and the scene that I already cited today, you've described the marble as like the dialogue with the history.
Yeah.
Why so?
When I did the jump of reconnecting with the I would call it the inner child, and really go through the process of becoming a sculptor and exploring my artist practice, I was like always wondered why sculptors and architects they've been fascinated with the stone. Like what is the secret for this timelessness? I ended up going and visiting the quarries in Carrara. I literally was walking inside of the mountain, where the stones were excavated, because there's a law where you're not allowed to excavate Carrara, if I'm not mistaken, over 900 meters. So, so they would dig inside of the mountain, and then they would just make sure that they don't like kind of touch the highest mountain, and to make sure that all of the stone is just done under like in a lawful manner. But this opens you to like a really surreal experience, like going into the heart of the mountain, like where the stone are being excavated. And then you have the journey of choosing the block and learning more and more about the stone. So every time I sculpt Carrara, there's no waste in the stone. There's only marble dust that lands on my hands and in the space. So it feels like it's a kind of respect to the sacrificed stone, like where like there's a story in every piece, and it needs to be kept and told. And there's one last thing that fascinates me with this particular marble is that the imperfection, because the beauty of this marble comes from its vein, from its imperfection. It's really a constant lesson for me to reflect on.
No, it's interesting. I love how you put it. And I also didn't know about the prohibition to excavate actually deeper. Wow, it's very interesting how they try to preserve the history as well. It's interesting.
It's interesting, but it can be even more environmentally friendly. It can be even more sustainable. It can be more because like this is a stone that's been used for thousands and thousands of years. When I visited Carrara, they mentioned that with all the stone that have been used since like the Roman Empire and even before up until today, we were able to excavate 3 to 5% of Carrara in the world.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of a really hard and tough process on nature, but there's a kind of a longevity to the stone itself, which is like would live for thousands and thousands of years. With if you divided over the lifetime of the stone, it maybe can be approached as a sustainable form,
like a material.
Yeah.
What about the basalt then? I remember it's the stone that was born from chaos. Quoting you.
yeah, absolutely. It's like it's such a this stone is also explores, has like this polarity in it, like it comes from the heart of the earth, right? It's so charged, it's like a volcanic stone, and then so it's like it's very explosive, has this explosive qualities in it, but at the same time you can find it in every country around the world. So it unifies, but it's explosive at the same time, and it feels like this is kind of a common thread that might link us. It's a stone that we're all used to it. We all know it. We've all somehow had encounters with it, either in the pavement, either in the roads, either like in a sculpture, either in artwork. Like it's somehow lots of people that I've met, they always had this encounter with the basalt stone. It's like, you can sculpt basalt. Oh, it can come with stones. Look, what is it? Of course, there's total different nuances and varieties of basalt because there's specificity of the site, but all of them come from one core idea from the center of the earth. And this is what fascinates me, if we can really go to what we have in common, this core idea that really links us together. Yes, there's so many variation. Yes, there's so many nuances. Yes, but this human thread, I would call it, comes to really same core.
And what about any sustainability maybe insights in terms of basalt? Because it feels like we also don't have endless amount.
Yeah,
as well.
in fact, basalt is the most abundant stone on Earth.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then especially that there's always eruption and there's always volcanoes active. So there's always basalt that's been forming. Okay, the process takes thousands of years. Some basalts takes like less time to come, like the pebbles around the rivers and all of that. But it's a very generous material when it comes to its specificity, when it comes to its pores, when it comes to, you can feel the warmth of the basalt. Always feel the warmth. It always stays there.
And it feels like also that you, due to the solids that you use, you work a lot. Like you travel a lot, you work a lot outside. Like going back to the art history, there was this, first of all, there were artists in the studios, and then they went outside and did the picnics and started to drawing outside. And can you also like describe for me your typical day? Like how do you work? And and overall, where does it happen as well? I'm curious.
Mainly there's in my practice, there's a really long reflective process that comes before even touching the stone. And I think it's so important to create this tension where you would want to try to say thing, but it needs to be clear. And this build-up can get healthier and healthier through the process of writing and through the process of drawing. The first two processes, they usually, wherever I am in the world, like the writing or the drawing, it just happens in my apartment, in the studio, in a cafe, on a plane. There's lots of writings that happens on the plane. There's like really like the no gravity kind of feeling. It feels that the flow is generous, but it's kind of like by the time I'm ready to start the sculpting process, there's a really clear infrastructure, and I believe a healthier approach to the stone, because creating a public artwork, sculpting it would take up to like 8 months to 1 year. If you're facing the artwork for 8 months of 12 years, like you would love it one day, you would hate it one day, you want to break it one day, you would like, what is this? Like, and we can see it so many artists, like it just create this really unhealthy relationship. And I do sometimes have like this angst, like in front of the artwork, like this is like, this is nothing, like this is terrible. And then like, how can I have this space where I can really take back 2 steps, write about it? It might be terrible, true, but at least it was something that I had thought about it, I have felt it, and approaching my art from a seasonal way, like, okay, I want to sculpt when I'm in Beirut, when it's spring, when it's and summer, like when in a certain time of the day. And this gives it also like something to look for. Right. And like writing is like usually happens in autumn and then drawing will happen in winter. So it's really kind of like generative process become like really flowy through the season. And it's like, I'm really looking forward for next autumn to like start working or writing, or I'm really looking for spring to come to start sculpting. And so far, I was able to create this healthy pattern that sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. But it most of the time, it's really flowing and generous.
It's interesting. It's like you're doing the same job from different angles, but because of the season, every angle is different, and it's like goes with the overall tone of the
but it can be really
outside.
on daily things that we do, like practicing, let's say, more meditative like having more meditative practices in autumn or like winter, like yoga or like meditation. But then like I'll have to do boxing in summer. You know, like it's still me, right? It's still still my voice, but like I really look forward for boxing in summer, or I really look forward for finally like going into my yoga and then my so this kind of attuning to the things around us, to the weather, even from eating roots or vegetables that they are grown for the season. Like you look forward for the tomatoes, or you look forward to try the extra virgin olive oil, which is like now I'm like really looking forward to get a bottle of extra virgin olive oil. And like it's, you know, like this feeling of once you have it, and this tanginess on your throat and on your tongue, it's really particular to October. It's really particular to school entry. It's really particular to new chapter. So it holds so many memories and amazing feelings with it. And why can't we approach other things in life from a seasonal perspective? Like maybe this is one of the things that we can learn from nature too.
True. Actually, yeah. I think that's something that I would want to incorporate, to be honest. Also, not to be bored as well, because like it's really cool to change the scenery from once in a while. And it's also like, it sounds that you change the character of your doing, you change the places. Then you mentioned Beirut. Would you say that you have any local or like cultural traditions that you're particularly inspired by, like the Islamic geometry, or like maybe it has influence on your art or so?
So mainly there's a constant search of understanding the region, and a constant search of understanding what the region offered and still have to offer to the world, like from local thinkers, from the musicians, from the artist. And if you want to discuss that in particular, the Islamic geometry, for me, it taught me two things, two really important things. First, the beauty of geometry. Like, and at what extent it can be simplified, and how much it can be expansive. And this like understanding the core of this geometry has really kind of make me try to dig a little bit where it started and why it was started. And this is where I understood the second lesson, is that we had a certain visual narrative that in the region that dates pre-Islam, like from the rock carvings that we can find in Petra, that we can find in Al-Ula. We'll find so much like sculpture, and there's a really generous visual narrative. But this changed, this visual language changed after Islam. And it has been used to communicate with the unseen. It was been used to communicate with al-batin, the imperceptible. And understanding how geometry is used as a sacred language really like opened for me kind of like my senses were just like, okay, now here you go. Explore it, understand it, feel it, learn from it. So yes, it taught me a lot. Maybe not from like a really aesthetic wise, like, but the core of it, the essence of it really engraved my thinking.
Would you say maybe any other traditions that you observed across the world influenced you as well?
Look, to be honest, is when I lived overseas is when I really understood my identity, when I really understood the region where I come from, and what we are and what we are not also. And there's like so many portrayal of the region, like the oppressed, the barbaric, the exotic, and we can see it a lot in like in Hollywood movies, even just normal coverage now in the media for what's happening in the region. And another dimension of there's lots of artwork that has been preserved in museum overseas that would be able to access it and see it, and it's been so much research has been done around it. So it also helped me understand the specificity that we have, but also how many common things we have with everyone from the Western world, from like all human, mainly like it really goes to the core of being human.
But your works are also so contemporary. Like you can just like looking at it, you can see that because there are some artists that respect traditions and they prolong the tradition, but then your works, they find this balance between seen and unseen and between contemporary and traditional or like the normal and the past kind of thing. How do you approach this balance? How do you maintain it?
I understood the importance of stories of how it can tell a narrative and how it can reshape a narrative. And how many untold stories we have in the region. And the traditional craft that we have, they are all untold stories, and they have a certain of kind of a sacred aspect to it, because it's only you give it to someone from your bloodline. So I feel like it's so sacred, it needs to stay in the family. It's kind of, it goes with your DNA to the other person. And these stories are so intimate and so diversified, and the same craft in different region will offer you something else. And these stories fascinates me, how this can help us really reshape contemporary narrative, how this will help us go deeper towards this authentic culture identity, or even authentic self. And there's so many ways to approach it, but for me, as a sculptor that's fascinated by the touch and what this dialogue between, this interaction, craft has always been a cornerstone of how I do express my thoughts and my art.
And also considering that craft is changing, I don't know, I'm thinking about the authenticity aspect, to be honest, because also, first of all, I'm interested in your observations and what has changed in the sculpting craft over the years. And then also, is the modern approach as authentic, and like, how would you maintain the authenticity of the old stories and the modern narratives through the modern ways as well?
I do believe there is so many stories to be told about the carving process itself. But I would like to also highlight sculpting doesn't mean carving, and carving doesn't mean sculpting.
Right.
But what interests me is to understand the time that we are on and the gift that we have been offered. Is it possible to create a dialogue between the silence or meditation of when we carve and then loud sound of the machines that would kind of help us roughing the stone, let's say? Is there a dialogue that can be done with tradition and technology? Is this can be one way to have like a digital craft or future craft, the future for the craft? And these are all these questions that I always try to explore. And sometimes we spoke about the season and a healthy relationship. Some of the artwork, like one of the artwork that has been installed in Jubail Island in Abu Dhabi, it's a 10 tons of stone that has been like sculpted. And without the use of the machine, like this artwork would have taken like 4 or 5 years.
Right.
So imagine your relationship with public artwork for 4 or 5 years, just sculpting and sculpting. Kind of making the process shorter, leaving space for different ideas or different concepts, because the sculpting is not in the carving process. The sculpting is in representing the idea itself. Yes, the hands are important. Yes, the carving is important, but there's time is important too. What machines can help us achieve, what machine can help us like even install the artwork, like moving big blocks of 25 tons. This is, you know, like we really need to understand the gift of machines that we have around us. And this would really push, I do believe, the extent of what we can do with traditional crafts.
How do you imagine the sculpturing and carving also will change over the next decade? So how the traditional or maybe just art forms will change over the next decade?
It's one of the lots of challenges that for many artists, because there are so many work that has been done in the past for thousands of years in carving or in painting. And choosing the medium and choosing how we express ourselves is also part of the voice of the artist. Like the tools that he uses are his brushes, like the tools that the sculptor uses, the brushes. But do we really need a brush? Do we really need a tool? Do we really need to have a paint? So I think so many artists, and this started in the modernism, where like they really even deconstructed the idea of how much is the tool or the medium, the importance of it in kind of being genuine to the concept. And I would go to traditional medium. And there's so many artists that really explore different medium, because this is a certain angle, they need to show a certain angle or need to show a certain idea. But we're now in a space and place where we can explore, we can make mistakes, we can learn, we can push these boundaries.
Lovely. No, it's very interesting to hear how you perceive the future. Also, remembering that the future is near.
Absolutely.
Last but not least, if you could leave one lasting message here today, what would it be?
I do believe that many of us are in their journey, and especially in the UAE, there's so many people that are trying to find answers. So many people even try to find questions, like things that they need to do or they want to create. And like this journey and this process, it's important for it to be enjoyable. Like it's super important to really enjoy the ride rather than just where we want to go. Because I had so many deception where places I wanted to be and it was devastating. And then I was like, okay, these are signs that I need to re-question if this is what I want to do. And one way that helped me find these answers, they were through really connecting the things that I love, things that I learn, things that the land had offered me, things that the culture had offered me. And like when we spoke about tradition and traditionals, like there's really important aspect of it that we sometimes forget, which is the intangible one, like really like the poetry, the dancing, the singing, the native landscape that we have to be, that we've been offered, the coffee, the old songs, like. And I'm not saying that this is what you need to do, or I do believe like these milestones or like these things shouldn't be approached from a nostalgic way, or shouldn't be approached like this is how we keep our tradition, or oh, I'm afraid to lose my traditions. I think no one can take it from us. It's just how much can we assert it, how much can we embrace it, and embrace it in an authentic way, not not in a stereotypical way, not into like how we want to be perceived, but like really with what we are.
Thank you so much.
Sophie,
really.
thank you for having me today.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. I hope everybody listening to us enjoyed it as much as I did, as I promised in the beginning. Thank you so much. I think today we all have to save ourselves some time and think about what we wanted to become when we were 12. Maybe there was something in particular that struck a spark in our eyes. And next time you'll be around the public statue or public monument, think about how it is there and just try to be present. Tarek, thank you so much, really.
Thank you, Sophie.
Enjoyed it a lot. Stay tuned for our next episode to enrich your lives and give you some food for thought. STR loves you. Bye-bye.